Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me this evening on Fireside Chats. As you can see, I'm in our virtual speakeasy behind us. And today I'm joined by John Simpson. John is the chairman of Backup, and he is also the chairman of Whitelight. If you'd like to ask John a question this evening, we've got a Q&A section where you can post questions to John, and I will either read those out for you, or I might even unmute you and ask you to read the questions yourself. So welcome, John. I hope you're well.
Yes.
Thanks for joining.
I'm busy doing emails, sorry.
Never stops, this man. So how are you? You well?
Good. I think so far so good is what they say.
Indeed, indeed. So Backup's our lead charity for WeMakeEvents. Can you tell me, when did Backup start and how did it start?
Well, in the year 2000, 2001, a chap called Tony Gotelier and Rick Fisher came across one or two freelancers and lighting designers who were having a bit of a tough time because of long-term illness, and they decided to start a charity called Light Relief. And the trustees were then those two and Richard Pilbrow as chairman, David Hersey, obviously a lighting designer, Patrick Woodruff, another lighting designer, and David Hersey, another lighting designer. And then I thought they better have, I think they thought, well, I better have somebody in a suit. So they asked me to join, as well as Matthew Griffiths, who was then the CEO of Plaza. And that ran for, in fact, it's still operating, but it ran actively for about 10 years. And I'd always felt very strongly that I'd like to expand it into all the disciplines. I mean, during the time of Light Relief, we helped a number of lighting people, mostly illness, but some injury. Probably about 60 or 70 people during that time. There were very generous donors like ETC and Roscoe. And a lot of the designers and freelance people gave up a day's wage to, once a year to help. But I just felt we should expand it to all disciplines. And of course, the charity commissioners were very difficult in those days, allowing you to change your mission statement.
Right.
But because I was involved with Plaza at the time, I went to an exhibition in America and met up with Laurie Rubenstein, who was the sort of, I don't know what title was, chief executive, I guess, of Behind the Scenes, which is the American equivalent really of us. And they were very successful. And we agreed that we'd like to form a sister company called Behind the Scenes UK. And she came over, which we did. She was fantastic, wrote all the constitution with us and with Shane McGreevy at Plaza. And we formed Behind the Scenes UK. I then asked various friends and acquaintances to join as trustees and patrons. And we ran that for 18 months, I guess, raising money.
Yeah.
And giving grants. And then sadly, Plaza and Esther kind of fell out in a big way. And I was sort of involved with the disentanglement, for want of a better description. And sadly, because of the separation, we weren't allowed to use Behind the Scenes name. Right. So back to square one, everybody rushed around and we came up with Backup Tech, basically.
Yeah.
And started again. So that was 2014, I think.
Okay.
So it's really gone on from there. The patrons, are to give us our credibility in inverted commas, but I have to say Simon Callow has been absolutely brilliant in supporting us, and David Hare.
Yeah.
And we started to raise money. And during those 6 years, the main mission really was to help people of any discipline, whether they were riggers, cable coilers, stage hands, anything to do with live events. And we also included recorded events, because there are people who are freelance who get behind a camera for events and things to record it. So they are still involved in live events. So it was the full gamut of every single discipline, whether you were a wardrobe mistress, whatever it was, because I just felt that was important for our industry.
When you say help, sorry, John.
Sorry, I'm burbling on. Go on, Philip.
That's what I was going to ask. When you say backup helps people, how exactly does backup help? What kind of things do you do to help them?
Well, the mission really was to, very similar to Light Relief, to help those who are in a dark place because of injury or illness. And we have helped people who've fallen out of grids, been involved in accidents of one sort and another. And of course, as we all know, the moment you can't work, the income stops. And if you have a long-term illness, it can take months and months and months. And in case of some cancers, particularly virulent ones, it can take up to 3 years. So these poor individuals are sort of the forgotten people, and I just felt we need to support them, and that's what we did. And certainly in the case of long-term cancers, whilst we can't give them a pension for life, what we can do is give them a sum of money that means they can pay the rent for at least 3 months, or the mortgage. We pay all the domestic bills. We pay for the transport, any special medicine, anything that they need. And I think, as Brian Leach said in one of the videos, he was, a great ambassador for backup. He said it isn't any other that it gives you time to just stop when you're seriously ill. You're so worried about trying to get better, and then feed your family or look after your partner or whatever it is, that you don't have time for yourself because you're so busy worrying. Yeah. So there were quite substantial amounts. I mean, up to £6,000-7,000. Now, it sounds a lot, but actually we all know what it costs per month to run our lives, how much your rent is, how much your mortgage is, how much your community tax is, all those things which you have to pay. And suddenly you have no income. Yeah. Banks start being arsy and credit companies pull the shutters down. So that's what it was about. So that was our mission statement. And I guess we've helped in those years. Probably we've spent 250,000, something like that, of money raised, from fantastic people, again, ETC and many others. And it enables us to take care of people who I consider are part of our family. Nice. So that's what we do. That's what we've done. And then, of course, you're going to ask, well, what about now?
Indeed. Obviously, the world suddenly changed in March. So how's that affected backup?
Well, I think in the same as everybody else. Suddenly you think, my goodness, where's the income going to come from? How can we help? Because our mission statement is still there. We do and still are looking after people who are suffering injury or illness. But then in, I think about September, the trustees decided, having seen what other people were doing, you know what, we should do a hardship fund. And we went into our endowment, and we, with the help of Light Relief, we did our first hardship fund, and that gave grants to about 110 people. And it was quite specific. It was for those who had had absolutely nothing from the state in any form, because we felt those were the most desperate. Yeah. And you can see some of the thank yous, for want of a better description, on our website. Pretty harrowing, some of them. It's quite clear there are thousands suffering. And so we have launched a second hardship fund, which we're in the middle of at the moment. And that will allow a slightly better margin for people who've had some sort of help. But listen, again, we're not going to change lives. We're not going to give people a wonderful, wonderful quality of life, because God, everybody's desperate at the moment. But, you know, funds coming in just to help for a few months rent or to feed the family, that's what we're doing. So we had to change our mission statement with the Charity Commissioners. I have to say our lawyers took longer than the Charity Commission, because pretty much within 24 hours they said, yes, fine. So that was wonderful.
That's brilliant. And am I right in saying you're even looking at a third hardship fund now?
Yes, I mean, as some of you will have seen, there's been a fantastic generosity from the industry, despite people, you know, worrying about their own futures. The generosity of many thinking of others, yeah, is pretty amazing. And one particular, Niall Horan, gave a concert at the Albert Hall and raised, you know, enough for us to fund probably 150, 200 people.
That's fantastic.
Which we put into this hardship fund. But other donations have come in, and again, with WeMakeEvents doing such a fantastic job raising awareness of the plight of so many of our colleagues. So extraordinarily, money is coming in. So we feel that, you know, the next hardship fund, we will have funds to do it, and we'll again extend the parameters of how much you can have earned. So, you know, there are some who are lucky who have managed to get jobs. In fact, one of the people who delivered my order a couple of months ago, because I was shielding, still am in theory, was a stage manager.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I know people have got jobs, but the majority haven't and are suffering pretty badly. So we're here to help.
I think it just goes to show the kind of industry we are, though, that one, we will help each other when we can. I think the community spirit that everyone is taken on board is fantastic. The work that everybody has been doing, but also we're an industry that won't just sit on our bums and woe me. You know, we will go out, we will go and get jobs as delivery drivers, we will go and work in the supermarket, we will do whatever is needed to keep food on the table. But I think, you know, the work that Backup is doing in the hardship fund of being able to pay someone's rent for a month or two, the relief that must give someone is huge.
Yes, I mean, I would also say that during the first hardship fund, and we would do it in the second one, there are quite clearly people who are not in a good place mentally. And we've always supported that through our original sort of mission statement, in that we've helped with therapy, counselling, psychiatry, and so on. Because I think, you know, when you can't pay your bills and you've lost your job, you get into that despair mode, which starts leading the mind to play tricks, and you get in an awful place. So all I would say is anybody who, I mean, we're all proud, aren't we, as human beings? We're even prouder of our industry, and we don't want to be seen as someone who can't provide or cope or all the other expressions. All I would say is don't let it get that far. You know, there's a telephone number. People know who we are. Just ring.
Yeah. Reach out.
Reach out. Don't be afraid to ask for help. No. We all need help. Definitely. We help each other in the industry we are. Can you just hold that? Could you just go and do that? Can you help me with this? You know, what's different? I need help. Don't be afraid to say it.
Definitely. Where do you see Backup going in the future? What's your plan for Backup? What would you like to do?
I say my plan, rather grandly, we have trustees around us who I would like publicly to thank. They've been absolutely amazing. Those who've got behind the Hardship Fund, Piers and Lee and Rick and so on, been absolutely fantastic. Yes, I suppose I bear the brunt of it in inverted commas, but that's not what it's about. It's a team of people who all care about what we're doing in terms of helping others. So, and the unsung hero, of course, is Jess, who has been absolutely fantastic in going through all the Hardship Fund applications, and will do again on the second one. Where are we going? Well, it might be the third Hardship Fund. And what I would like to do is obviously raise enough money to have an endowment that we wouldn't have to continually ask people with our hands out, can you help? Which would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Not that interest rates or dividends are particularly high in the stock market at the moment, but if we had sufficient funds, then it wouldn't mean that we were forever chasing gifts and donations. That would be the ideal.
Yeah.
But it won't stop because I think there is so much support for it. There is a need for it. I hope nobody ever has to use it, but if they do, we want to be there for them.
How can people donate to Backup? Obviously, they can donate through WeMakeEvents. Can they donate directly on the website?
Yes, if you go on the website, there's a page called Donate, very big. And you can donate a one-off. It doesn't matter how much, anything, is wonderful. You can become a regular donor on a monthly basis. You can be a bronze, a silver, or a platinum, or whatever it is, or gold. I can't remember now, to be honest. But yeah, just go on the website and then you fill in a form and then it just automatically happens. Those are the ones that we like because we know that's regular income and gives us a basis for the work. But you will see, we list everybody to thank them, and we list all the one-off payments, whether it's 5 shillings, £5 or £5,000. They're all listed because I think it's important to know that their colleagues are contributing. And I think if you contribute, you want some kind of recognition, not for any other that, oh, great, I've done it.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great thing to do and to support.
I mean, I was going to do a set of questions during this sort of fireside chat and ask questions. Anybody got them wrong would have to donate, but I haven't quite got around to it yet.
maybe that's the next one. We'll do a pub quiz.
Okay. Yeah. Good idea.
That'll be good. Should we take some questions on Backup? If anybody wants to type it.
Yeah. Ask away. I've got to read it. I'll put my glasses on.
Hello, guys. Actually, I'll tell you what. Let's unmute you, Andrew, and I'll let you ask that question. That's a lovely question. There we go. You should be able to unmute, hopefully. You there, Andrew?
Has he unmuted himself?
I'm not sure.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, Andrew.
Hello, how are you all? Mine isn't a question, but I thought, since as I was on the chat, I would speak to everyone. If Backup helped me get back on my feet after I fractured my spine. They allowed me to get the correct physio that I needed, which massively helped me regain proper movement, which I was really struggling with. It also, as John was saying, massively helped me with stress during the recovery period because, as John was saying before, there's a lot of worries that go along when you're freelance and you're not able to think clearly because of all the worries while trying to recover. So that support there means that you can actually focus on recovery rather than stress about how you're going to pay for your bills or how you're going to get the correct treatment or whatever that you needed during that period. So I just wanted to jump on and say how much it really helped me, and probably the only reason that I was able to keep working in the industry, really.
Are you back working in the industry now, Andrew?
A bit of an interesting story there. Yeah, I went to work on School of Rock in London, but the pain levels carried on increasing. So what I actually did was actually interesting. I did exactly what John suggested to me when I saw him at Plaza, where he was talking to me about the idea of doing lighting design and WYSIWYG. And now what I do is I work for the design department in Adlib, and I spend all day drawing shows in WYSIWYG on the computer every day. It's great, and I love it.
Brilliant. I'm glad. I'm glad.
That's all right, Andrew. Pleased to hear it.
Thank you. We got any other questions? Simon Pryor, how do you encourage people to ask for help, John? Do people refer colleagues?
Yes, and I would stress that probably that's more often than not how we hear about them. Again, because people are very proud. So if you know of anybody, don't be afraid to tell us. You can apply directly on the website, but if you're nervous about that and can't quite face filling the forms in, ring and I will answer, or somebody will answer. We're sort of more or less on duty, if that's the right expression, 24/7. But it is, we hear about people and then make an approach, or they will leave you a message or whatever. Or I would just ask everybody to, spread the word. I'm sure it's getting out there much more than it was, but everybody's kind of focusing on the Hardship Fund, which is right, but there are still people suffering from some pretty horrid disease, which have been long-term and need support. And sometimes people suffer in silence, and particularly mental health. So again, I would repeat, get in touch. And if you know of anybody, let us know.
Yeah, I think the most important thing with mental health is, if you are suffering and you feel like you need to ask for help, it's nothing to be ashamed of. I think that's the first kind of stumbling block with mental health is, admitting to yourself that you need help, and then obviously going and asking for it. And that's sometimes the hardest challenge.
Yes, it is, but we really shouldn't treat it any different from, if you break a leg or you go on a long run and you're absolutely exhausted, your body says, stop, please. And if your mind is racing because you're under stress and you can't cope and you're getting in despair, the mind says, stop. And that's where it all goes wrong. So all I'm saying is treat it like anything else that you would look for help with.
Yeah. Should we move on the conversation, John? And let's talk about you, and let's talk about Whitelight. Is it right? Whitelight has been going 50 years now.
I wish you hadn't mentioned that, Phil. Yes.
Sorry, I've probably made you feel very old now. I do apologise.
Yes, it has. 1971.
Fantastic.
November.
And how did it all begin?
I've got to cram 50 years into 10 minutes, have I? Well, it started when I was at the Royal Court as manager, and it was in the days of, I suppose, slightly left-wing theatre with John Osborne, Arnold Wesker, and so on. And it was doing shows that attracted a lot of people to our stage, whether it was John Gilbert or Ralph Richardson or John Mills and all the younger, Bob Hoskins, a whole range of actors and writers. And they were all fantastic to meet and work with. But the one thing I sort of latched onto was the lighting design. And the lighting designer at the court then was Andy Phillips. And he and I used to raid my drinks cupboard occasionally. And so he said he was fed up with hiring lighting in where the quality wasn't terribly good. So we decided to start a lighting company. And I borrowed 350 quid on my credit card. They'd just come out, and off we went. And that's really the start of it. We were rapidly joined by various people who wanted to invest. A chap called David Henderson, who's living in, I think, Cambodia or Laos now. Rory Dempster, who sadly died of mesothelioma, as did Andy, actually, which is asbestos in the lungs from working on all the old equipment. I mean, I'm horrified now, you know, pattern 23, which had asbestos cable, you kind of put in our teeth and yank, strip them off. But that was one of the outcomes. But also Angela Fox joined us, and she was the illegitimate daughter of Mrs. Worthington. And the name should ring a bell with a lot of people, because of course Noel Coward wrote a song called Don't Put Your Daughter on the Stage, Mrs. Worthington. And Angela was the daughter he was writing about. Mm-hmm. And she married a chap called Robin Fox, who was a fantastic agent for MCA, and then started his own company and looked after all the stars. And sadly, he died, but they had 3 children, which is James Fox, Edward Fox, and Robert Fox. So she was the mother, and she and I got on pretty well. And she said, "Oh, I think this is a nice idea." So she invested quite a chunk of money in those days, and that really took us on the road to where we got to in 2019, of which I'm very proud. But sadly, March 2020 hit us, and as we know, not very good times for everybody, including us.
I was going to say, how has Whitelight been affected? I know talking to
same as any other company. I mean, we had a company, we had 260 staff plus, very sad. We've had to say goodbye to a lot of colleagues who worked with us for a long time. Absolutely miserable, heartbreaking. And whilst on the one hand, I want to celebrate 50 years, I don't think this is quite the time to do it. It's not good for everybody, but I'm sure most of the people, you know, watching and in the industry know the same story from their own companies, from freelancers and so on. Desperate times.
And one of the questions we've got from Peter Heath is, post-pandemic, what do you think the industry will look like? This is in respect of live versus streaming, and what effect do you think this will have on artists, etc.?
Wow, I wish I knew the answer to that. I think it will change. The way we do events will change. The way corporate events are managed and so on will change. Everything will change. Technology will come much more to the fore, as we've seen already in terms of the way companies are dealing with, keeping in contact with their staff, all the use of the technology, whether it's Zoom or indeed our own Whitelight Smart Stage. You know, all these things will not take the place of human beings collected together in a venue, because I still think there is a desperate need for us all to share experience, whether it's music, whether it's dance, whether it's drama, whatever it is. That shared experience is what we do, and that will never disappear. But I think it will change the way we do some things. If I knew what it was, I'd invest in it, but I have no idea.
June, that's what I should have brought shares in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at us now. You know, who would have believed that 20 or 30 people would be sitting, staring at their laptops on a Friday evening, chatting away?
Yeah.
We should be down the coaching horses, you know.
Well, I'm as close as I can get at the moment in the speakeasy.
Yeah.
I've got a glass of water though, rather than
okay.
at the moment. I thought I'll be good. And obviously, pre Whitelight, what got you into lighting? Where did your career start?
Well, mainly my mum was a bit of a keen amateur dramatics lady, and I did quite a lot at school. But although I did walk on the stage and say a few words, I didn't feel very comfortable, so I immediately hid backstage and worked on the backstage stuff, including lighting. And then we had a very active sort of young drama group in the village where I grew up, and so I did the lighting for that. Then I went off to college because I didn't think I could ever get into theatre. It sort of never occurred to me, professional theatre, when you're an amateur. You think, oh, that's other people do that. And so I trained as a teacher, believe it or not, English, maths, and sociology, and taught in a secondary school in Walsall. And then after a year, thought, I don't think I want to do this. So I stopped and got an Arts Council grant, which was being offered to go around the country on their behalf, looking at theatres and the administration of the funds.
Right.
And then ended up at Watford as general manager, and then Citizen Theatre Glasgow, and then down to the Royal Court. So, and that's kind of where I picked up the lighting side again with Andy, because I'd always been fascinated. I think to Rob Halliday, I said, I just found it fascinating. You could do like that and something happened miles away over there. I thought that's fantastic. I still do.
I'm guessing that the technology that is changed over the 50 years, it must be phenomenal. What you've seen kind of come and go, and the different bits of equipment that we now have. I mean, some of it baffles me, and I've only been doing this about 20 years. So,
well, as soon as we moved from pattern 23s and 123s at 500 watt, I was lost. But yes, amazing changes, and all for the better. I think the palette that lighting designers have now is just extraordinary. And I think what's even more incredible is they managed to use them in such incredible. I have huge admiration for designers. I mean, whether they're sound designers or set designers or whatever, but lighting particularly.
yeah.
I think it brings a wonderful sort of focus and contrast onto the written word that just wouldn't be there without it. I'm sure if everybody walked around with torches and candles, we kind of get used to it. But there is just something about lighting which enhances what you see in front of you. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, I wander around the warehouse. Well, I haven't for a long time, virtually this whole year. And I look at this equipment and I think, my God, what does it do?
You still actively involved in Whitelight on the day-to-day?
I like to think so, but Brian, our CEO, thinks I'm not. So there you go. Yes, I mean, I used to go in 2 days a week. I mean, I think a lot of it is about keeping in contact and pastoral care and those things that are important in a company.
Yeah. I have to say, I've worked for Whitelight on and off, and the family atmosphere there is lovely. Something that is obviously nurtured by a lot of the staff there.
Yes, I mean, listen, everybody has to be put on the naughty step occasionally, but generally, I'm just proud. It's a great place to work and a great bunch of people.
I've got a question from Jack. What advice would you give young people looking to get into the entertainment industry?
Entertainment industry generally, or lighting, does he mean?
That's actually asked Jack.
I mean, he could be a magician.
Hello, Jack.
Hello. Can you hear me?
You're very quiet, but carry on.
Oh, okay. Sorry, the gain was down on my mic. That's fake. Hopefully that's better now.
That's good.
Yeah, no, I was just talking about. So I'm an artist myself, and I'm just getting into the industry now. I'm a student at ACM at the moment, and I just wanted to know what advice you would give in terms of the music industry and live events as well.
I sort of heard half of that. You said you were an artist.
Yes. Do you was I not loud enough? It's on full gain now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was just wondering what advice you would give to someone who is just getting into the music and live events industry.
Okay. What are you just getting in as?
As an artist, as a singer-songwriter.
Ah, okay. Well, I'm not sure is the answer. I guess all the things that I'm no expert on this, you're doing are probably right, but do you have a live website? Do you put your songs out there on social media? All that sort of stuff? Can you team up with somebody who's got a foothold? It's not my area of knowledge, but I'm sure people around who are watching might be able to help.
I think I would say, Jack, from a slight teaching background, as a performer, I think if you've got an understanding of the team that works behind you, and it's obviously providing the lighting for you, they're providing the sound for you, they're providing the set for you. If you can understand the role that they do, they can then help you do the best version of what you're trying to do. So, performance is a collaborative effort, whether you're the one on the front of the stage or whether you're the one behind the scenes. And when everybody understands each other's roles, then you can work together so much better and you can produce such a better show if everybody's on the same page and if everyone's working together as a team.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's take some more questions. What have we got? Let's go through. Duncan was asking, can I remind viewers about Amazon Smile donations and ask them to support backup? So I believe if you go onto Amazon Smile, John,
yes,
you can, any purchases you make, you can then add a donation to backup.
Yes, it's a small percentage when you look at it, but they done us pretty proud. I can't remember, Jess would know, but I think it's close to £1,000 over the last year and a half, something like that. So everything you buy, a small percentage, they put together and then send us a check every 3 months or something. So you use Amazon Smile whenever you're ordering anything.
And I'm guessing, even just £1,000, it still makes a big difference to people.
Well, it's a hardship grant for one person at the moment.
Right. So,
that's what it amounts to. Yes, I mean, donation. The website is the quickest and easiest way, but certainly using Amazon Smile would be great.
Gavin, you've got a question. Hi, John. How much stock do you put in the phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know in relation to the events industry? That's always a good one that comes up.
I don't know. I sit in an office.
You must know a lot of people by now, John, both from back.
Yes, I do, but I'm not part of the team that decides who we use or don't use. That's obviously up to the production managers in the company or the company that employs us. But yes, listen, is that any different from any other industry? I don't think it is. But yes, get yourself out there if you're a freelancer, keep in touch with people. Work comes that way. And if you're any good, you will always be asked to come back. But I think performers would say the same, wouldn't they? Actors would say the same.
In terms of education, I know Whitelight does a lot of work with the drama schools and universities. You've provided equipment to various places to help students learn about lighting equipment, particularly. You also do apprenticeships as well, is that right?
We do. I think we started probably 10 years ago. I can't remember. Yeah. Again, not always drama students. You know, they come from all walks of life, as it were. But yes, we do offer apprenticeships. Very successful. We tend to keep quite a lot of our apprentices, which is lovely. Not forever. We don't expect them to stay forever. Be nice if they did, but they don't. They have ambitions like the rest of us. Yes, a year's apprenticeship. I think we take anything between 4 and 10, or we did. I say, wrong year. We did take between 4 and 10 a year, or a rolling sort of 4 every year. Yes, anybody can apply. I think we send out, we're looking for apprentices and go from there. And I think they get a jolly good grounding. And yes, we do involve ourselves. I don't, but I know Brian does, and a number of the team do with various drama schools. And we have them working down with us sometimes. They come and look round. We support them with equipment. We have, you know, challenge days of equipment being compared at Central and so on, or Royal Central as we should now call it. So yes, we do a lot of work. They are the designers of tomorrow.
Yeah. And what would you say to anyone that kind of wants to get into the industry and, you know, deciding on kind of drama schools, universities, obviously, you know?
Yes, I mean, there are some who just sort of join a theatre and work their way up from there, start as a humper and then a follow spot operator and then whatever else it may be, and gradually become a freelancer. But I think if you're heading towards lighting design, it is probable that you should go to a specialist college to do it. Now, it doesn't have to be a drama school. There are other colleges that do it, Manchester University and so on, where you can, you know, specialize in one particular area, which could be lighting or sound,
yep,
or scenery design or whatever. But yeah, listen, what a world to come into at the moment, the entertainment industry. I'm sure their dads will be waving the finger saying, is this a good idea at the moment? But it'll come back. The industry will come back, I think.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? You know, we all know how important the arts are, how important our industry is to supporting that. You know, at the moment, you know, it might look bleak, but you know, there will be a future for our industry. There will be jobs. We will need people, and you know, education is the way that we'll be recruiting to fill those roles.
Yeah, I think in a way it's more fundamental than that. That I think every society, although Maggie Thatcher said there was no thing as society, let's say every community needs a soul and a mirror on the way it behaves, how it might behave, how it has behaved. And that's done with music, with drama, dance, films. It's the soul of what we are in a collective environment. And I think any society that does not have arts or culture is absolutely doomed. You need that creativity and that sense of awareness to the community around you, and that's expressed through art. And it just as easy to be sculpture. I mean, I'm not, because I happen to be in the performance area, but there are many other forms of culture and art which are just as important.
Yeah. Going back to the questions, I've got a great one from Peter. When were the moments during Whitelight's histories when you thought, "Oh my God, this may not work," and what did you do? Well, that's a great question.
I would like to say never, but yeah, there were a few of them. Yeah. I suppose the first big jump was, well, the first show we did, Andy and I, was Alpha Beta with Rachel Roberts and Albert Finney, which transferred from the Royal Court up to the West End. And we delivered the equipment in 2 little mini Travellers in those days. So it was 16 23s and 12 123s with all the appropriate cable, I think 6 Grelcos. And we delivered it. And we went for a drink afterwards when we delivered it. And I said to Andy, what happens if this all goes pear-shaped? Because, you know, I'd taken a risk, as had he. And and his favourite phrase, we get out of town. Luckily it paid off. And then the next big one was the Rocky Horror Show when it transferred. And we did all the installation in the cinema. The first night went off and suddenly the sound went off halfway through the show. And Jerry Jenkins, who was working with us at the time, and I both looked at each other and thought, my God, the intake's gone. So we rushed into the intake room, found the sound isolator, pulled the fuse out, and of course the fuse had gone. Meanwhile, they were singing the Time Warp as best they could at full blast. And of course, were we prepared? No fuse wire, nothing. But in those days, Jerry was a smoker and I was. And of course, inside a cigarette packet, you had silver paper. So we scrumpled this silver paper up, made in the shape of a bit of fuse wire, whacked it back in. But at that moment, I thought, I think we're going to get the sack. So, but for some reason, nobody appeared to notice, which either shows that the singers were just so good at projecting their voices. It was probably about 4 minutes, but perspiration, stress, that was not a good moment, but it happened. Yeah, and I guess Miss Saigon was the next biggest one. We went to Fulham, of course, which most people know, because we were working in the basement of the King's Road Theatre while I was managing the Rocky. And then we moved to Fulham, and we moved into a very, it was actually built for a stables for horses, a stable barracks. And we think it was built in the Boer, round about the Boer War, late 19th century, because there were fields around London then. It was a farm. And they built this stable block, which was on 2 floors, a steep ramp up and a steep ramp down to the basement and cobblestones. And I took, each floor was about 4,000 square feet, and I took 2,000 square feet and just thought, what have I done? But we were Fulham for 20 years, I guess, and then we moved to Wimbledon.
I was going to say, if you went from kind of 2,000 square feet, how big was Wimbledon when you moved in there? That's a huge.
Well, Fulham went from 2,000. We eventually took all the floors, which came to about 11,000, 12,000 square feet. Then we filled that, and then we started to rent places from London Transport all around Parsons Green. So we had equipment scattered around Fulham, and as many Arctic driver will tell you, it was a bloody nightmare collecting all these different bits. The moving light company was sort of down in Parsons Green and generic stuff at Fulham. It was an absolute nightmare. But we moved, I think it was, warehouse was 35,000 square feet and the offices 10,000.
Wow. In
2001.
And you've now got a warehouse over the car park as well, haven't you? You've now got 2.
We're now up to about 70,000 square feet, including mezzanines, maybe bigger, which is great when things are going well. But when you've got to pay the rent and the rates and the insurance and all the rest of it amidst the crisis we're in at the moment, pretty tough. But hey, it's tough for everybody. So,
where obviously. It's a difficult question probably to answer at the moment, but where do you see Whitelight going in the future? Obviously, once our industry is back on its feet.
What, when they pop me in my flight case and push me in the ground, you mean?
Not
Well,
for a long time.
I hope it goes on to do what it does best, which is run a company of which everybody can be proud. It actually looks after the people that it's serving, that is the productions, the designers, and so on, with the equipment that they want to use, to develop new ideas, of which the most recent is Smart Stage, develop our broadcast side. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to for the company when we get back on our feet again. Fantastic group of people, you know, work for the company. Committed, passionate, very good at what they do, very good at what they do.
I'm guessing in order for Whitelight to be successful, you've got to have competitors as well, though, to keep driving you to innovate and come up with the next best thing.
Yeah, I mean, since we're in a capitalist world, it is inevitable that there will be competition. I think that keeps everybody honest. Yeah. I think it is good that all companies have competition, because it means you have to strive to be the best. You have to strive to have the right quality, the right values, all those things that are important. And there are some good competitive companies about. You know, we don't, by and large, slag anybody off in terms of what they do, because that's not healthy either. We recognize the talents that they have and the jobs that they do. Yes, of course, we wish we won everything and did every single job, but life's not like that, is it?
Well, I guess that kind of also helps push you, you know, when you do lose a job, then you reinvent and you come up with a
I mean,
push forward.
I think it's the old problem, isn't it? That are you getting value for money is the first thing when somebody orders something, but secondly, is that value good enough to sustain the provider to the standard of excellence that you want them to perform? And, you know, supermarkets compete with each other. Do you buy that particular tomato or that one or that T-shirt or another one? In the end, the buyer has to decide what he wants to pay and whether it's the right value for that payment. So we do struggle sometimes to be competitive, but at the same time, we say, actually, what you get is the best, and we will be there behind if it doesn't work, if you want something else, if you need it maintained, what is it you want?
Do you worry that budgets are going to get cut now?
I think everybody is. You know, producers are going to have to take a much bigger risk. Therefore, the angels are going to take bigger risks and might not be around to want to take those risks. I'm talking about particularly sort of West End shows, but it would apply to concerts, it would apply to anything else. Live performance is whether the producers are prepared to put up with that risk. And as we know, producers aren't always over generous with their budgets. But hey, I think it will return. But meanwhile, we just have to do the best we all can, and certainly sort of reverting back to the reasons for the Fireside chat. Anybody who can help by donating would be fantastic, and there are ways to do it. And let us know of anybody you know who's in trouble, but actually doesn't want to hold out their hand for help. And let's raise some money to help those who are finding it really tough and not in a good place at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's a lovely thing that you've done, John, with Backup, you know, to be able to help as many people as you have, and to be able to take that pressure off, even if it's just.
Philip, it isn't just me. Yes, I sort of lead from the front, if that's the right word. But there are the trustees do an enormous amount of work, as does Jess, as does Shane, actually, who's our sort of treasury officer. You know, they're wonderful in supporting the work that backup does. They're the heroes in my view.
It's great. Let's just have a quick check of the questions, because I think we're starting to run out of time, I'm afraid, John.
Oh, right, okay. That's me talking too much as usual.
Not at all, not at all. I think we could quite easily keep going all night if we were allowed.
Well, we've got 50 years of Whitelight to do yet.
I've got a question from Simon Pryor. How do you feel the stage disciplines have merged over the last few years?
I missed that. Have you what?
How do you feel the stage disciplines have merged over the last few years? With kind of lighting, video, set rigging. So
Yes, they have. And I think technicians have had to be gone through a strict learning curve in being able to cope with some of these disciplines and the equipment and so on. I think it's rather exciting for anybody who's a technician behind the scenes to have all these different mediums that they can mix and be responsible for. I think it's rather exciting. I mean, maybe Simon doesn't think so, but I think it's great for anybody. You know, they're not just stuck in one discipline. Oh, I'm just lighting. No, actually, videos are part of the future. Well, it was part of the past, what am I saying? But it will be very much part of the future, that kind of technology, that screen relationship. And if you've got the skill base for that, as well as lighting, as well as sound, fantastic. Go for it.
And I suppose the last question, what would you like to be remembered for? You know, obviously, yeah. In, you know, what would you say is your crowning glory of what you've achieved? I've stumped you now, haven't I?
Completely. Normally I'll burble away, but no, I think it stumped me rather. I think probably for Whitelight, if anything.
Yep.
Very proud of that. Proud of my children. But I think, yeah, probably Whitelight.
Lovely. Thank you, John. Like I said, I'm afraid we have run out of time. I could quite happily talk to you all evening. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Look after yourselves, everybody. Have a great Christmas. If you can, sitting in the garden round a fire. But have a great Christmas, everybody, and let's hope for a much better, happier new year.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, John, for doing all the tech support in the background for me. Before you all log off, please check the WeMakeEvents website and calendar. We've got lots of sessions coming up, and we've also got the Discord server to have a look at that. There's lots of chat channels on there where you can discuss all different topics, not just theatre and the live events. We've got people talking about sport, about gaming, we've got music sessions on there. Dom Harter is doing loads of DJ sessions for us. So there's lots going on. So please check it out, WeMakeEvents.com, and also check out the backup website, which, remind me again, the backup page, John? Is
backup tech is the quickest way to find it.
There we go. There we go. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.